Well, 30 years into democracy, South Africa is this year reflecting on the gains and failures after freedom. Racism has continued to rear its ugly head, and structural inequality also remains unaddressed. And it raises the question, are we at risk of undoing all the gains of freedom? And we'll talk now to Professor Thuli Madonsela, who is the research chair in social justice at Stellenbosch University, to really just share her thoughts and perspective on this one. Prof. Madonsela, good morning, and thank you as always for joining us and for your time. Appreciated.
Good morning, Iman. Good morning to the viewers. What a privilege, and congratulations on being back on this station.
Thank you. It's lovely to be in a new place with some of my former and old colleagues. Let's talk about one of the issues that you raised in your op-ed that you wrote. You were saying that it's time, perhaps, for us as a country to rethink March 21 as Human Rights Day, fall in line with the rest of the world, and designate it as International Anti-Racism Day, which in any case was named in honor of the almost 70 souls that were killed on Sharpeville Day during the Sharpeville massacre. Why?
Well, that is my call, Iman, because we risk in South Africa of forgetting the fact that racism is still with us, and the structural inequality that was manufactured by successive governments during colonialism and apartheid remains with us. I quote Justice Edwin Cameron speaking about the fact that the past is with us. It will not leave us alone until we answer its claims to justice. But when we make March 21 and similar events amorphous events about human rights, we forget where we come from, where we are, and the unfinished business that we still need to undertake regarding eradicating structural racism and psychosocial racism.
And I think we'll circle back to exactly what you're talking about when we talk about structural racism. But, Prof, you know, our observation in society is for people who've lost family members and loved ones during the Sharpeville massacre, we're saying, you know, it should always have been Sharpeville Day. Then we had Human Rights Day, which they said was a degree removed from exactly what the day should have been. What you're suggesting, some might say, is now removing us another degree into something that might even bury the memory of Sharpeville altogether. How do you answer that cohort of people?
Well, there are multiple thoughts on any issue, and I would say they're right in worrying that if we go to Anti-Racism Day, maybe it's still not close to Sharpeville Day, but I think that anti-racism is far closer to Sharpeville Day than Human Rights Day. Because as I said, Human Rights Day invites us to think broadly about human rights, about the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, about the Bill of Rights, which is a good thing. But it doesn't invite us to zero in on the fact that we were a country that was built to be a racist pyramid scheme. And every day we have to ask ourselves, to what extent is that racist pyramid scheme reshaping into what I refer to as a diamond-shaped society where, yes, we have a few at the top, preferably because they've worked harder, not because they sit on accumulated wealth because of colonialism and apartheid. Secondly, we might have a few at the bottom, not because they've been denied opportunities, such as the Balisa Musas have been denied opportunities, but they're sitting there because of the misfortunes of life, such as having had to go to jail, such as having been sick and things like that. And then the majority of our people should be in the middle because we have opened the economy and we have opened opportunity and freed the potential of every person as our Constitution enjoins us to do.
One of the things you write about, Prof, is the observation that though the laws that manufactured inequality have been abolished, the structural inequalities that they created mostly remain. And I'd like for you to, again, just go into it and give us some examples. I mean, you already cite the issue around the registration crisis at universities. Just expand on that a little bit more.
Thank you, Iman. South Africa was created into a country where there was systemic poverty at the bottom, and that systemic poverty had to have a color which was black, but primarily female. The Constitutional Court has canvassed this issue in several judgments, key among those being Daniels versus Grabante, which is about land, and another one being Mahlangu versus Minister of Labour, which was about social security for domestic workers. So the laws that placed black people of all shades, colored, Indian, and indigenous African at the bottom, have all gone. As Kader Asmal said, they will go. But Kader Asmal said as early as 2001 that the fact that the laws were gone did not mean that the society they had built would crumble. We needed conscious action to do so, and the Constitutional Court has said so. And so examples, as I've indicated, is social security. Currently, the government is trying to address that with the social grant, the SRD grant, and a lot of people are grudging that. The interesting thing is that the Constitutional Court said, actually, the state providing social security, particularly to the poor, or social assistance, is in a way not just a solidarity measure, but in a case like South Africa, where there was manufactured poverty and manufactured inequality, it has a restitutive element to it. So that's just poverty and social security. But look at wealth distribution in South Africa. The Ntswalo that the president has held up to be the epitome of our success is half the story of success, because you still go to a TVET college, because the majority of our kids cannot go to university. But when they come to university, many of them have been literally sent back home because they could not afford accommodation, they could not afford university fees. And the majority of those who can't afford accommodation and university fees are historically dispossessed ones. Firstly, the universities were built mostly in historical white areas. And secondly, the resourced universities where government spent billions with those in historically white universities. Yeah. Now, government spends pretty much the same amount in all schools. You can't do that. If you have deprived one of your children of money over years, you can't, when you decide you now equal, give them the same amount of money. You've got to give them in a skewed way so that you level the playing field.
And I mean, on the restitution issue, viewers can go ahead and read your op-ed, because you have some ideas on what restitutive action looks like. Before we close, though, Prof, and again, thanks for your time this morning, just your thoughts as the former public protector on the appearance now in court of the former speaker, the facing of those 12 charges, and, we heard quite a bit of detail on what her stance is going to be, but be that as it may, she has now resigned. That trial and court date is going to go ahead. She's going to get her day in court. What were your thoughts on how this is all developed?
Well, firstly, I was saddened, and it doesn't mean that I am saying she didn't do it. It's that it's sad for me to see anybody find themselves in such situation. And of course, corruption is one of the first of the improved quality of life for every person in this country. And I hope, for her own sake, that she will be found not to have done what is claimed to have been done. So, because we can't prejudge the case at this stage. There are allegations. The fact that a wig was found at her house does not necessarily mean it is the wig that was given to her. Even if the wig was given to her, we still have to prove that she asked for it. It wasn't just a case. So I don't want to prejudge it, but I do value the work that the NPA is doing, because one of the reasons corruption thrives in our country is impunity. And I hope that this same vigor that the NPA has given to this case will be given to all of the people who are implicated in the state capture report of Justice Zond.
And just a quick one, you would have heard, again, a lot of public debate of people who are saying that a lot of the way this has unfolded has been tantamount to preferential treatment. There was quite a lot said about her health, her circumstances, the condition of the country's jails, and so on. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not the first time that a person is brought to court by arrangement. It has been done for several people, and I don't want to mention names. I don't see any preferential treatment. There was a lie that was spread in the media that the presidency sent a whole entourage to accompany her. It turned it that it was one of her friends that came to court, and of course she travels in a particular way, and she couldn't have traveled differently right now. People are right in demanding that she be treated like any other human being, but we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves by condemning her as guilty, as charged, without waiting for the process.